Okay, right now, in this moment, my identity is educator and Omi, grandmother. My favorite word in all the world is mom. I have two precious children that call me that, and a growing cadre of young people coming into this work that I really believe somehow since I'm mom to them or Omi, grandmother, and I feel reciprocal for whatever reason. That's really been the gift of this conference, is the feeling that the family is beginning to extend who want to come in. And I would say the focus of my work right now is to work with the newer technologies that are becoming available, especially in the realm of energy and medicine. University of Arizona in Tucson has a huge laboratory, and they do not mean nuclear energy necessarily, but they're talking about energy, the big E. And I'm about looking at how to now talk in logical, very simplified terms on how efficacious it can be for both the human and for the horse when they hang out together. And I'm very grateful that there seems to be, the work is, it's almost like, well, when Nelson Mandela said, we're the change we've been looking for. And that precious Paul Hunting nailed it when he said, it's the horse appears to him to be co-evolving along with the human and the portal. And I know that's true. I've known that's true since I came onto the planet. And how to talk about that and share it, that there is a whole incredible other realities and possibilities available to us right now. And horse being in the present facilitates human coming into the present. And once we're aligned mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all is available. And if we stay there long enough, we're actually facilitating our own healing. Human seeks to come into balance, homeostasis. We do that. And again, when we have a tendency to fall out or fall into judgment or whatever, then hey, horse will bring us back. And it'll bring us back on several planes, but we may only hear the physical call, the mental call. Most people, I feel right now the challenge is to be open and receptive to the heart call. The heart is the true portal. Yeah, that's what I'm about right now, educator. I mean, I'm trained as a psychologist. I was almost ready to get my license and go sit for licensure when that opportunity at CR Tucson, the psychiatric hospital, came up. And I realized when I sat and thought about it, it was more important to take this opportunity to build the barn of my dreams, collect the herd of my dreams, put these people together that I knew had skills and talents, and offer it to these really damaged, hurting adolescents. And at that point I didn't realize that actually all of us were hurting and damaged in some way. And the notion of how that whole process helped us, helped the kids. And here's the amazing part, and that's of course the focus of my current research. It was helping the horses as the horses helped us. And that's what I'm about. Back in 1972, May, I had a really, I had my first horse, and Kelly's father helped buy the horse and bring the horse from Minnesota to Tucson, and was quite remarkable about supporting me in coming to another level of my riding ability. I have been horsey all my life, but once the children were in school full time, I just simply wanted to explore this world of horse more fully, unlike I had ever been able to do before. And maybe because I had been riding in my heart and riding in my mind for so long, I was very good very quickly. Now I had very good coaches, had very good horses, and my discipline that I came into this in a more serious way was 3-day eventing. And part of the training for 3-day, it has that 3 phases, the dressage phase, the cross-country phase, they have a roads and tracks portion, and then the show jumping, which is a speed event, and you go around this course of, depending on what level you're doing the 3-day at, fairly good heights. And this horse, his name was Sel Robbie, a Bay Arabian of all things, he could jump the moon. And he, like me, this is the like attracts, could go really fast over really high fences. And I went with a friend one day in May to a very big A-rated horse show, and we were using the hunter class. That's a very dippity-do, just mosey over, look pretty over the fences. We were using it. We had no intention of placing as hunters, but they had built really good substantial obstacles in the center of the oval of the racetrack on First Avenue in Tucson. So we were going to use it as our particular training round for that. And I was on course, came around, things were going pretty good. And as I came into this oxer of telephone poles wired together, so there's no give in that fence, I knew at the approach we were wrong. And the horse's knees hit the fence and flipped over. And I somersault over off his back. Now the height of the fence was 4 feet. That's a good height. And I somersault over, land on my back, kaplunk, on my back. The horse, Robbie, comes on over, lands on his back, on my stomach. There were no vitals on either one of us. The ambulance comes up, the ring stewards come up, my friend runs over, they're trying to get the horse to roll off of me. She's telling them how to get some lead lines, wrap around his feet. His feet are just straight up in the air. And I'm kind of like that. And as they start to put the lead lines around the horse's feet, he shudders and rolls over. And I know you've seen a horse, when they get up after rolling, they kind of put one forefoot down, really spring onto their weight of that 1 4-foot and leap up. And Robbie did exactly that, but my hand was out here like this. So his 4-foot came down on this hand and he sprang up. Now at the point he puts his 4-foot here, I feel in my body. I snap back. I have not been in my body. I was not in my body experiencing what was happening somatically until, and I left at the point where his knees hit the fence. And then my perspective, and I've been 4 or 5 years integrating this experience, happens from out here. Simultaneously, and this is May 1973 in Tucson, Arizona. There's just not a lot of consciousness around even leaving your body, much less. I then go and in kind of a simultaneous thing, I'm having a life review. I'm having a little pep talk chat about it not being my time, and I keep trying to leave early and I have to go back. And I'm embraced in this amazing embryonic light. It's ecstatic. It's unlike anything we know here. And the feeling quality, hearing quality of it is no words. So I visit Kelly in her Montessori school. I realize she's taken the snake that day. Thank goddess you took the snake to Montessori, and Charlie could now live with them. And I go to Bobby's classroom at Sunrise Drive Elementary School, and he's again sitting in the corner. And I get this remarkable insight that the reason he's always in trouble is he's smarter than the teacher, and she doesn't know what to do with him. And so he ends up getting shamed for behavior at boardroom. But I don't know how I knew that. It just was there. And I actually also visit their father, and he's having a very important conversation with some business deal. But here's the weird thing. I could hear the other side of the conversation. And later when they come to the hospital to visit me, and Kelly's sitting up, they put me in sandbags and traction, and Kelly's sitting up on the sandbag looking down at me, and she says, "Mom, your eye makeup's on upside down." And yeah, my best friend, this gets to the part of how I get to this word. She shows up in my hospital room, Nancy McGibbon. Nobody has ever in my family, you don't make a big deal about what's happening or whatever. In fact, on the infield where I'm laying and the ambulance is coming and everything, I have a shame attack. I am making a scene. I am, how can I be creating this public display? And I spring up. I literally stand up like, well, the first thing that happens is Gigi leans over, puts her, I can feel her tears falling on my cheeks. And I tell her I don't think my body works. Could she take my hard contact lenses out? She wore hard contact lenses at the time. So she flips them out and puts them in the pocket of her rat catcher. And then I won't get in the ambulance. And I said, I'll sit in the passenger seat, but I'm not laying down on. Something in me knew that, and it did happen when we get to the hospital. They bring the gurney out. Now they're going to make me lay down. And at the point of having to lay down, the pain hit horribly. So Nancy shows up in my bedroom, and she at the hospital. Now Bob has taken the kids, and they've gone home, and they're, we kind of, I don't think I looked very assuring that I was going to be okay. In fact, nobody knew what was going to happen because my body didn't work. But Nancy shows up, and she's a professional physical therapist, and she says, she actually kind of translated what the medical people don't really want to tell you. And what she basically told me in the technical sense was they cannot give you any pain medication. They're afraid they might have to do surgery in case there's some internal damage. And so for the meantime, they're packing you in this ice, and they have given you the shot that they hope your spinal cord won't swell up. And the x-rays reveal an awful lot of fractures. And I was like, what do you mean fractures? And she's like, well, your pelvic girdle, all of your ribs, your shoulder, there's 19 bones below your wrist fractured, so it was kind of hanging up there like that. And they're just quite not sure. But for now, when your body gets that much trauma, it kind of shuts down and goes into coma, really. It was kind of remarkable that I wasn't in coma. And so she's leaning over me, and I can again feel her tears. And she said, Barbara, I don't know what your faith is or your belief, but may we say a prayer? And I said, please. So that precious new friend, because she hadn't been in my life very long, but we had this heart connection with horses. And in the prayer, she says, we're not sure where function is going to be restored, but I know Barbara wants to be with horses. And we will work to accept, however that looks. And remember how earlier today in the talk I said it takes one person in your life to simply see the strengths and the glory and the gold, and how blessed I am with Kelly? Well, that prayer from my friend was so significant, so important, that it kind of, and I remember laying that night, I didn't really sleep, but you know how you kind of doze, because part of me was just terrified. What if I don't ever work again? And part of me was realizing I had been sent back. I had been told to shoot that back down that. It really is, or you experience it as kind of like a tunnel, a womb. And I was here purposely. And if I knew nothing else, I knew I was going to be shown what does that mean? How will it look? And I really believe, Dave, that when I'm feeling lost, because I have periods of feeling lost, or thinking, heck, I just don't know what the next step is. I don't know where the support is or what's going to happen. If I will get quiet, and for me, the way is to probably go out to the barn and heart scan, place my hand on the horse's chest and one on the withers, and just stand and breathe very quietly. And this practice of doing that, I really sense has opened the other doorways to say, okay, here's the deal. Here's the next step. Here's what we do. And out of Nancy physical therapy, she and I together, it turns out later we didn't really know we were doing this, but we invented in Arizona, in United States, this medically reimbursable treatment for it called hippotherapy. And Kelly's dad had a really beautiful field hunter, half Arab, half Hoflinger, Bentina, and we, at the stable, we rigged up this little ramp, and Nancy's one caveat was, you must get the horse ready. If you can get it groomed, and you can, and mind you, I'm wearing a head collar, I have all kinds of a thing out like this. It was 2 years. I had to go back to classes at the hospital for biofeedback on the pain, and I had to go to classes 3 days a week back to the hospital to learn to walk, because my right side of my body wasn't hooked up or working with the left side. And so I had to learn to, I walked with a walker for a while and went through all of that. And so out of that whole rehabilitation and restoration to function physically comes therapeutic riding of Tucson. It's a huge, big, they do 250 people a week with 17 to 21 horses helping, and some 200 volunteers who work morning, noon, and night in this program.
Why are you so happy that your dad's watching you?
Besides the Jimmy.
He came to see you.
When Amy came to TROT, she was 5 years old, and she was speaking one-word sentences. 2 weeks after TROT started, she came back and she started saying 3-word sentences immediately. And the thing that she said that really melted my heart was that was the first time I ever heard my daughter say that I love you. The first 3 words. And, I can say that she can tell me that she loves me, and I can say that I love TROT, because that's what they've brought to me and our family is our daughter's ability to speak. When you're a parent, when you end up thinking about, what's going to happen with your child. You want them to be the president of the United States. You want them to be the famous football player. You want them to be the astronaut. And when you're the parent of the disabled child, things start changing for you, and your priorities start shifting. Therapies, and especially TROT, gives my daughter and all the kids that come over here the ability of trying to live a normal life. And without those things, they don't stand a chance. It's not about my daughter ever becoming the president or an astronaut. It's about little victories. And the little victories are her saying that I love you, her being able to dress herself, her being able to run without falling, those are the things that TROT is helping my daughter and so many other kids like her do. And the services that they're providing is indispensable.
When the kids smile, when you know that they are happy from the inside out, and that it's a priceless moment, because I smile, everyone is smiling, and it's a gift that they give us too. It's not just us giving them something when they're here.
I love being an instructor because I get to facilitate a whole area of happiness for them. I get to see them laugh. I get to see them cry when they're happy that they did something on their own. Those tears and the laughter are very precious to me.
If you think you're having a bad day, you know, the world's just going wrong for you, and you need something to put things in perspective, come out for TROT for just one session, and things seem good again. This is an amazing place.
All you need is love, love. Love is all you need.
So, in the beginning, we had Kelly and Bobby and their father, Ram, and Bill and Heather and Andrew McGibbon's children, and we just did it in Basie's arena. And out of that comes this hippotherapy. But I remember in training the horses or working with them and training the volunteers, because we need a lot of help. It's labor-intensive therapy and treatment. In training the volunteers and the horse handlers, something else was happening. And that took me back to the Bay Area. And my mom generously lent me some money. And my mare, Rama, you saw her picture today, while selling one of her better babies to this racehorse guy, funded my being able to go to graduate school and stay over there in San Francisco for 2 years, really studying and getting. And then, in the way of synchrodestiny, I actually at this point think I'm going to become a holotropic breath worker. That's going to be my way of offering the psychotherapeutic experience. And I was training for a year with Stan and Christina Groff. And Stan used to say to me, Barbara, you're going to do this with horses, because horses followed me. That's a whole nother story, part of my book, second book. And so I'm just about to graduate, and Stan hires me as a kind of an intern. He got a huge job from this hospital in Tucson, Sierra Tucson Hospitals, and this now, fast forward, is to 1989-90, and Bill O'Donnell, the owner of the hospital at that time, asked him if he would come and train his medical staff. And he wanted all his doctors, all his nurses, all the psych tech aides to be trained in holotropic breath work so that they could experience those shifts in consciousness, those different reality states that are all part of right here. Well, that whole process of training with Stan helped me download, oh, this is so similar to the world I visited over there. Maybe they're not so entirely separate. And that veil, which frequently can get very thin, I learned, you might call it management techniques and I study that today with the dream work, how to consciously be in the realm of the world you happen to be in. And people often say to me, Barbara, you just live in a different world. Well, how true? How true. So I'm standing under, Stan's a big man, I'm standing kind of embraced by he, and his wife Christina was hugging me, so they were kind of holding me between them. This big, huge corporate gathering where Bill's introducing the corporate folks and the funders to the notion of why everybody the next day is going to spend 2 days breathing on the floor, music, sensory deprivation. And he just casually says to Bill, the owner, so what's new? And Bill said, oh, we're just getting ready. We're building this amazing adolescent care unit. It's just going to be state of the art. It's fantastic. We're looking for this. We're going to have a climbing wall. We'll have a field of dreams for a ropes course. And we're looking for this Barbara Trot Morkin. She's some lady, big, huge therapeutic riding program. And they keep telling us that this woman is going to be able to do the horse therapy for us. We don't know what it'll look like, but we're told she will. And we can't find her. And Stan and Christina are like, Bill, we have some news. Barbara, meet Bill. Literally, that's how it happened. I mean, when you're supposed to be in a place that you're supposed to be in, and right next to Bill was this Reed Smith, who is the man who was set up the, and he had been kind of bugging them. Listen, these youth camps for horses with kids that are troubled are so important. Maybe we should be doing horses. So Reed was the one who had said to them, we need horses at adolescent care, however that's going to look. And then, I mean, within 3 days, they had said, here's practically unlimited budget, build your dream. Yeah. So I went that way. Very privileged. It feeds my soul. It's fuel. It's the energy that drives me right now. I think in some ways I don't really know. I am so called to be doing what I'm doing. And there are times when I have no idea how the bills will be paid, or Ramam needs another pricey medication, or when Vargas was alive, we really did try a lot of pricey technology that I was so driven to do. And I don't think I have a rational, logical answer for that question. It's a calling of my soul.
I think that's an answer.
Yeah. Back at the hospital, the process for these newly admitted youth always was some dual diagnosis. Many of them from the jungle world of gangs, kill or be killed, and then some severe traumatic issues on the spectrum of the DMS-4. And they were really literally locked up pretty tight for the first 3 or 4 days till the staff got a handle on what was going on with them, and they were stabilized with, not necessarily subject to an immediate psychotic break or something, or we used to call them technically wig outs. And the practice in the morning at the barn was to turn these 12 horses out, and the arena was 200 by 200. Huge, big thing. I'll never forget when corporate said, you spent more money on the footing on that arena than the whole kit and caboodle. And I was like, but the footing is it. That dressage queen again, but okay. So anyway, the practice in the morning was turn all the horses out in this huge, enormous arena. And ultimately, they, of course, would kick up their heels and begin to play. And they were energizing themselves in this big, massive circle. Now we had geldings and mares and everybody together, and they were just whirling around. One morning you could barely see the horses swirling in this big whirlpool of and all kinds of horses. We had warm bloods, we had quarter horses, we had thoroughbreds, we had Arabian horses, we had a pony, Shetland pony, girls and guys together, just no stallions, but the rest there, all different ages. And all of a sudden we saw a pair of psychedelic pajamas come running across the field of dreams from the lockup unit at full tilt, ran all the way into the arena, and got in the middle of the swirling herd. And coming right after him was the staff, his psych tech aide, and followed by the head of the adolescent care unit, Wyatt Webb. And he's out there with his cowboy boots and his hat, and they're tracking this kid who has gone into this. I mean, how he got into the center, I'll never know without getting run over. And I remember Suzellen and I were like, he'll be killed. And Ann came running out of the barn, and we're all just like, and Wyatt comes up to me and he says, get that kid out of here. And I'm looking at him like, you think I'm going in there? I don't want to be killed. I don't want to be run over. Meanwhile, Ann's watching intently. She said, Barbara, look at Crackers. Crackers started to circle, still at the gallop, around Dave, and kept the other horses off him, and began to move him towards us on the rail. Now, had a good 50 meters to go, and the horses are now frantic, psychedelic, help, what am I doing? He was doing everything he could, didn't know it, but it energized the herd further. And here's Crackers, carefully, but still at quite a high speed, pushing the kid over. And of course the kid's doing what Crackers is telling him to. He's moving him over. The minute he got close enough, Wyatt, he's a big guy, leans in, snatches him out, and just, the language was not repeatable from all of us. And the kid is, and so we all just stand there a minute. Well, the minute he was out of the arena, the herd started to slow, and pretty soon they all come over to where we're standing, all 12. But Crackers is right on Dave, and he reaches through to Dave and was feeling his pajamas, and I kind of pushed Dave over a little bit. And meanwhile, now the medical directors come up, and can we even work with this kid? He may have to go to a higher acuity or whatever. And Dave and Crackers are almost like forehead to forehead, but there's the fence between them. And it was a moment. Dave looks at Crackers and says, you saved my life. And then he turns to me and he said, if I stay here, can I learn to be with that horse? And I said, you bet. But he said, I can't be with a horse like people are with horses. I can't have halters, I can't have saddles. I just need to be with this horse. And I'm looking at Ann, and I'm like, okay, you know, that'll work for us. We'll have certain safety parameters and whatever, but, and then kid gets really cocky. He says, and by the time I leave, I ride that horse at a gallop. And we're thinking, okay, you know, don't dampen the dream. And this is back in the days before managed care. So he stayed almost 3 months with us. And that, I would say, Dave and Crackers together taught me and Ann so much about what this work means, being with horse. And he got ready for his graduation. And we said, the most I could say was, okay, Dave, in the round ring, we had a 60-foot by 60-foot arena with good footing in it. Why don't we begin in here? And let's see how it goes. We had no idea whether Crackers, we had kind of a little bit practiced with Linda Tellington Jones' neck ring around his neck, and we're pretty confident that in the round ring he was going to be not too badly hurt. I'll tell you right now, that's kind of where our mindset was. But again, here's the horse and the kid teaching us. Dave climbs up on the rail. He doesn't want any mounting block, nobody helping him. He literally invites Crackers over. They've been practicing, I'll say that. So they had developed a lot of language between the two of them. He slides over on Crackers. They practice walk. They practice trot. They practice canter. And then he comes up to me and stops and he says, would you open the gate and let me go in the big arena? And Ann said, we'll open the gate. And she ran and opened the big gate. And they had maybe 50 feet, 100 feet they had to go between the two gates. He ducks under. By the time he hit that open gate, they were wide open. And he's like this. He's going like this. Kids poured out of the unit. People were like, we got to see this. And they galloped and galloped and galloped. It was the most extraordinary. And later, Dave had to leave there and go to a residential unit where he could also go off campus and go to school, but it was sort of a sheltered living practice so he could stay in the healthy behaviors. And he wrote a letter to me and to Crackers. And we did tell the kids at their graduation, you know, you can stay connected to this horse. You can call it up on your hard line and chat with it. And if you need to, you could even write them a letter. The staff commits to reading all letters. Mr. Fabulous, who was the eating issues, he got a lot of mail. And Crackers got his fair share, and so did Elliot. But Dave wrote a letter to Crackers that was published. It's in Wyatt's book, and it was published in the corporate report for Sierra Tucson. And I'm quite sure it kept the hospital open a lot longer than managed care allowed it to do. And the barn is the longest sustaining thing that's gone on through the hospital treatment plan. That's a heck of a Cracker story, isn't it? You mean next to my life, or next in the work, or?
Yeah.
Well, I'm facing a bit of a challenge. You know, I co-founded this group called EFMA, Equine Facilitated Mental Health Association. We discovered that there's 700 members around the globe who sign up. We don't track you, or we don't have any one of those little cookies that go out and snag you, but you can volunteer to tell us you're there and give us what's happening and check in with the profile or the discussion. And we're having this big body of discussion on if we want to keep this work going and grow it to the next level of a viable career path for the youngsters coming up now. What sorts of best practices and standards? What are the common elements that are required safety-wise, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, for the horses, for the client, for the educator doing this work, for the psychotherapist offering it in therapy? What is that? What does it look like, and how would we be able to say to the public, now we've been at it long enough that we've been able to begin a fairly good education process for the insurance companies, but now how do we say to the public, this person really knows what they're doing when they, as an interactive professional, put horses and humans together? The challenge, there's always a challenge.
Oh.
They started with this initial Seed Monday and this little body of commissioners, and I was elected to be one of the 7 commissioners, and I'm the secretary, recording secretary for this group. And we've only met once, but we meet probably every 2 weeks on email, kind of chat, kind of getting our ducks in order. And I want to see this thing fly. I want to see us be able to, it's a bit of a behemoth right now, but I want to see us get off the ground and take flight. And when you say, well, what's next for me? It's my commitment to making available this test. And prior to making the test available, coming to congruence with all the various groups out there. I mean, we're going to need input from European Association of Horse-Assisted Education. We're going to need it from the EFMA folks. We'll need it from the Adventures in Awareness people. We're going to need it from EPONA, from Ariana's Equine Guided Education. So what is EGALA? What is this body of knowledge they know is specific to being really high level in this work? And when we get that, and we're very close, Dave, we've got essentially the outline of a curriculum for the mental health person wanting specialty in equine facilitated learning, for the educator wanting to teach equine facilitated learning, the clinician offer equine facilitated psychotherapy. All of this, we've got it. Universities can take it and run with it. Colleges. Prescott College right now is really doing that full time. But so that's really what I'm about right now. I want to continue. I think this conference has been an amazing little dose to my heart. I really meant that, of filling up my well of, okay, I'm meant to be doing this work, because I reach places where I'm not sure. I don't know what the next step is. I don't know what. I've never been really good at marketing, and finances have always been a bit slender. So who knows? As my attitude changes and shifts and I recognize the time has come, people do want to learn this. And I have a wonderful way for people to learn it. Most of it is me teaching you how to make the ice cream, and then how to bring out in you the flavor that you're going to offer. And if people check my website, they'll clearly see it's very important to, when you go through the internship program, you're invited to look at exploring other people. That's why I wanted your DVD link. I wanted to link in to, here's a person you can go to and study and see this management model working with the, and how you do it. It's very important that we learn from each other, we share, we have that reciprocity. And what you say to somebody, they may not be able to totally hear it, but they might hear it from me or from Kelly when she's helping, and the door opens and they get it. And I know what Gerhardt said in opening it is very true. There's more business out there than any one of us. We do not, it's a world of abundance, of clients, of people who want to know, how is it horses help people? And of course I want to continue on that science, the research. Go to phase 4 that Alan and Lisa are working on. Yeah. But yeah. We're done. We can have dinner.